Sometimes you go to the cinema and you want to see a lovely movie about lovely people having a great time, makes you feel really warm inside. Eddington isn't that movie. This is just the worst people in the worst time in the last decade being selfish and narcissistic. I don't know what I was expecting from this film, but I spent the whole time just being like, ugh. Oh,
Yeah, same. We both haven't seen a lot about this movie. We only seen a bit of advertisements. Pedro Pascal, he's in it. He's the most employed man this year. We've both seen Hereditary, Ari Aster's first film, and haven't actually quite explored much of his work. But this is his latest. It's a story that focuses on, as you said, like these really bad people in this small town, Eddington. It's set in COVID, late May 2020. As you said, it's in the worst time that you can possibly imagine. COVID, lockdown, social distancing, masks, and it gives you a lot of flashbacks about this era. But it is a story about this sheriff who doesn't like these rules. He doesn't like the policies that are going in effect in this town. He doesn't believe he should be wearing this mask and decides to become mayor. And that's where everything starts to go sideways. It goes crazy. There was a lot to unpack from this movie.
this film is 2.5 hours long, and I've got quite a packed schedule this week. And it was like, okay, we'll do this one on the podcast, and then I only have time to watch one movie and then do all the recording and editing. And then watching this movie halfway through, I was like, oh, this is what a swing this is going to be for the podcast. This is by far the most out there film, I would argue. I mean, 2020 is the worst period that many of us, many people living today will experience so far, because by God is the rest of the decade giving it a run for its money. But basically, we are situated in just the worst time. A big part of this movie is the beginning of the Black Lives Matter protests. And as we're following a sheriff, that's some very interesting territory to get into, but is not very fun to watch at all. It's one of
No.
those films where you think to yourself, is this a good film, but I just feel uncomfortable? Or is this a bad film? Because since watching this, I've seen some things that blew my mind. So, first of all, apparently this film is listed as a comedy. I mean, I must have
Uh,
missed all the jokes.
what? No, okay, that blew my mind as well. I did not know. Wait, so
Huh,
it's a comedy? It didn't feel zany or
no.
anything. It
Like,
just felt very real.
it didn't
Are
even
we?
feel like a
Did we miss
dark
something?
comedy. I think we laughed twice. That's not
Only
really.
at the times where it felt like something to
Yes.
laugh at.
Yeah, we weren't just laughing at like the worst thing ever's going on, and we're like, that's
That's
brilliant.
hilarious.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
hilarious.
exactly. There's a riot, and we're just like, yeah.
Funny times, funny times.
This is the Out of Time Film Podcast, where your hosts Tom and John discuss everything from blockbuster films to TV and games like there's no tomorrow.
That's so weird though, because
Yeah,
I
right?
never considered this as a comedy. I just felt so uncomfortable all the way through and just like intrigued about the worst people. Why are they so bad? Like, why
What
are
do you
they
think the
so
other?
terrible?
Because there is another genre that it is listed as. Can you give a guess at what it might be?
Is it thriller? Is it
No, it's not.
political thriller?
No.
A musical, because there's one section.
Yeah! There's genuinely one scene where they play Katy Perry's Firework, and I almost imagined it was gonna go into like a musical fight sequence or something like that.
Oh, that'd be
They just
great.
kind of got like an Edgar Wright, James Gunn style edited to the beat. No, it's Western because it's cowboys
Well,
and it's set in New Mexico, I think.
Western. Okay, I do see that.
Is a film set in the West automatically a Western? I don't know.
Somebody gets Sergio Leone
He's back.
back somehow. I don't know. A comedy western? That's a whole new
Different movie.
territory. Okay, if you told me it was a comedy western, Joaquin Phoenix, Pedro Pascal in the small town, I would have thought, great, it's gonna be funny. It's gonna
Oh,
be.
I'd watch that.
I watched
100%.
that.
100%.
But no, it's just a very uncomfortable film. It's just very,
This is Ari Aster's second collaboration with Joaquin Phoenix. And we got a pretty solid cast here. Pedro Pascal, Emma Stone, Austin Butler. It's a pretty good mix of people. And Joaquin Phoenix is playing the COVID denier, essentially. Somebody who isn't worried about it at all, refuses to wear a mask, especially in the first act. And I'm watching him and I'm thinking to myself, am I supposed to be rooting for this guy? It was a very kind of weird way to introduce your protagonist. I don't think until the end did it become clear that this film was very much against that way of thinking. There was a lot of this that I was kind of like, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to spin this as a pro-police kind of story here? And essentially what we see is we just see Joaquin Phoenix's character go on this downward spiral where he becomes more and more unhinged to the point of going off the rails in a way that I think is so unpredictable in the final act. And for the most part, I think the other characters are a little bit more reasonable, but basically everyone is just so aggressively selfish and self-centered. Basically, we see the worst people in the world and the worst time in the world.
Yeah, what the sheriff does, he denies the existence of COVID. Like, he says that nothing ever happens in this town. He's been protecting this town for such a long time. And he's that narcissistic idea of he always wants that glory. He's trying to be like this cool, like rebellious kind of sheriff, but he's not. He breaks all the COVID rules and doesn't like his image getting torn apart by other people. It feels like he's like a ticking time bomb. Now you mentioned there's a Western, now I see it. There was that Western with the sheriff trying to save the town from something, but there is the external circumstances that's happening that makes this sheriff say like, oh, there's nothing happening, but there is a lot of things that are happening and it can affect people. It's impactful. I think that was one interesting element that I thought, what is he going to do about this town? Is he going to save it? It's a very different film. It gives you a lot of ideas, and then there were some things that I want to explore in this movie, but it just doesn't go further along. It just goes to a different direction. It's like, oh, okay.
It's almost kind of all over the place. It's like this whole angle with the cult that we kind of get into that is...
With Austin Butler?
With Austin Butler, yeah. And that is a whole thing in the story. There's this mayoral race and there's the questioning of COVID and then there's a murder investigation as well. It's a lot that goes on. I could see this as a neo-Western, something more... Obviously, it's more modern, but it's not necessarily spaghetti western. Joaquin Phoenix's character isn't riding through town on a horse. He's riding through town in a sheriff's truck that is plastered full of his own campaign slogans. And one of the times I did laugh was one of the slogans says, "You're being lied to." You're spelled Y-O-U-R. And it's just a very simple way of being like, this guy's an idiot.
Yeah.
The thing is that the film obviously tackles a lot of issues that were very hot press stuff. There's a bunch of characters, young characters, who are inciting these protests and believe that they need to speak out. That I find interesting because all these characters are doing it for selfish reasons. They're not doing it because of the need for justice. They're doing this because of their own guilt, particularly white guilt. And I think that's quite interesting. Quite a couple of the characters talk about, like, it's not my place to say, and I'm sorry, and I understand my own privilege, but let me just say this one thing. And it's like, hold on. To me, it felt like Ari Aster was saying, everyone just needs to shut up. And I think it's an interesting thing to make a comment on, because after COVID, there were so many films that were talking about the cinema. Filmmakers were expressing their love for the art form that was unavailable for so long, that was locked down like everything else. We had Babylon and Empire of Light and The Fabelmans and plenty of films that were very nostalgic looks at the great stuff and the bad stuff in cinema and about filmmaking. This film is just a period piece for something only 5 years ago, just about the insanity of everything that was being experienced and all the reactions and how people were using every little inconvenience as an excuse to go off the edge. And the way that we see the sheriff go, he ends up just using the simplest microaggressions as his excuse to just be like, yeah, I'm gonna, I guess spoilers, but I'm gonna do a murder. I'm gonna do some murders now.
That was very unexpected for the film. I was like, oh wow, okay. There's this homeless guy that pops up now and again in this town, and he breaks into a bar, and the sheriff sees him, goes into the bar, and he just shoots the homeless guy just out of pure spite. I think just pure anger, because he just had enough, really. Especially that. Okay, this is such whiplash. It's like how he went from the party trying to turn down the music of Katy Perry's Firework. That was such a massive whiplash to him kill this homeless guy. And then, spoilers, he kills Pedro Pascal. And
no,
Pedro. No, Pedro.
He's always dying. He just dies. I haven't seen Materialist yet. He might also die in that. But I swear to God, like,
is he becoming a material in that film? No.
What? I swear he's just always. I swear we should have done that movie instead.
Oh, we should have done that. What kind of material do you think Pedro Pascal would be?
Ooh, something soft.
Something smooth, I think. Smooth
I,
and
I need to take this opportunity to say, I know everyone's saying Pedro Pascal is the most employed man in Hollywood. You're saying it. It's true. But here's Pedro's greatest trick, right? Now, he's not in Eddington that much. He's only in a handful of scenes. I would say he's gone by the middle of the film. But like his greatest, and I've gotten up a list of his films because he's not actually in these movies nearly as much as he is marketed to be. Gladiator 2, he wasn't in that movie very much. The Last of Us season 2, how much was he in that season before he was dispatched of? Drive Away Dolls, he was just a small character. I know we're seeing him so much. Even The Mandalorian, he's not even in the suit anymore. He just spends a couple days in a booth doing the voiceover. His great trick is that he spends his year going from film set to film set or TV set and just doing like 5 days and being like, brilliant, okay, you've got me in about 7 scenes, great, you use that, and then go off to the next one. I love it because all these films, he's only like a main role in a handful, but many of them he's a side character and isn't in them very much, and yet is getting people so much like, hey, we keep on seeing this guy everywhere.
he's doing it. He's absolutely doing it. Yeah. So, oh yeah.
Sorry, bit of a
Sorry,
tangent
that was a
there.
bit of a
I'll make a
sidetrack.
short out of it, I promise.
Yeah, so the sheriff kills Pedro Pascal's character and his son, and then he becomes mayor, and then the movie becomes this wild shootout. Joaquin Phoenix literally holding a minigun, barging out of the gun store. It looked insane. This is a 2-hour, 30-minute film, and then when you get to this point, it's like, it's just a massive whiplash to what you've seen. Okay, yeah, guns blazing, yeah. But one confusing element, there is this group of people in the movie that kills the police. Again, there isn't enough information who these people are, but obviously they are killing police and they do it for social media. We don't get enough information who they are and what they do.
I'm not sure if they're based off a real group who went around killing police. I don't remember. But again, it's people who are using these protests as an excuse to incite violence. And there is this idea of the difference between the people who are doing it peacefully and the people who are doing it violently that you see in the film. Yeah, these guys just come in and just start killing because they're basically only 3 police in this town. You know, the sheriff and 2 deputies, and one of the deputies just gets blown up. The other one loses a good chunk of his face, and Joaquin Phoenix is just running, being shot at constantly. It's like they just brought in a bunch of stormtroopers. The aim is absolutely awful. Again, is this a more Western element? I don't know, but it becomes a shootout. It's really bizarre to behold.
Yeah, another thing that I really liked about this film is the cinematography. There's a lot of things that were quite inventive that I thought kept it really engaging, like how the camera motivates with the character, like it keeps it continuous. There's not so many crazy edits. That's why the film felt very unsettling, because you feel like you're in real time with them all the way through.
And there's something really grounded about it as well. There's
Yeah.
something that we get a lot of social media coverage in this, a lot of people scrolling, a lot of quotes. We see at one point the Blackout Tuesday movement. There's so many different moments where we see social media. There's even a bit where the sheriff sits in his car and he does like a video. The kind of setup you've seen a million times. Some random person talks in their car and you watch them think and you go, why the hell are they in their car? It's a strange thing, but also it made it feel so real, so kind of prescient. It really took me back to 2020, a place that I never wanted to go to ever again.
Yeah, I thought we left this behind, guys.
Yeah.
I thought we don't want to go back there.
Yeah, and it doesn't do it with any sense of optimism. It's incredibly pessimistic. People get rewarded for the worst kind of behavior. You know, the sheriff goes on all of this and yet still ends up as the mayor at the end. Or there is one character who becomes super politically active and super outspoken about Black Lives Matter just so he can impress a girl. And he gets this incredible social media following and influence, and he gets a house super young and he gets a girl that he loves, and all this just because he did something that was incredibly shallow. And again, a lot of these things that people do in this movie, not selfless, and yet they get rewarded. After watching Hereditary and this, and not having seen Midsummer or Beau is Afraid, it seems to me that Ari Aster is incredibly pessimistic about this stuff. It doesn't seem like he's a glass half full kind of guy.
Yeah, he's very pessimistic. I do wish there was some optimism because the thing of cinema is that there is this sentiment of you comfort the disturbed or you disturb the comfort. It's about having those feelings and how we engage and understand. And this is an unsettling movie. If people in the comment be like, "Oh, I laughed at this. This is for the funny."
Maybe Americans are thinking this is the comedy of the year.
Oh yes, this takes me back. This takes me back to 2020. So it's such a whiplash when we went from The Life of Chuck to Eddington. It's like, oh great, we can talk about the celebration of life, how we feel so hopeful about it, and there is that existential crisis that we're gonna feel one day, and then this, and then there's
Yeah,
this.
Life of Chuck says, live life to its fullest, try be the best that you can be. And Eddington says, yeah, but people are awful. I feel like I owe Life of Chuck an apology because I said that film was quite scary, and I do think it is quite existentially terrifying, but this film was scary because it's real. People like
Yeah.
this really exist, and we saw them in full force in 2020 and before and since. Again, it's truly unlike anything.
It has a very dark ending, by the way.
Yeah.
He gets paralyzed at the
Like
end of
full body paralyzed.
like full on body paralyzed. He cannot speak, he cannot move, and it's terrifying. But at the end of the movie, he does get praised that he saved the town, he is mayor, but paralyzed. There's nothing he can do. And there's one thing that we left out was the sheriff lives with his wife, but with his wife's mother as well. The mother, she's just one of those old people that just gets misinformation all the time. She is full on a conspiracy theorist. She just loves talking about the information that she has, but it's just so full on misinformation. That is scarily relevant today about how people use misinformation to blind people. For example, Donald Trump said use bleach
Oh my God.
treatment for COVID. So
Jesus.
to go back with the mother, she gets all the glory being this advisor, I guess, or this assistant with the mayor. And she's like kind of like the spokesperson for the mayor, really. She just lives in this big house with the mayor. Unfortunately, he's just paralyzed. There's nothing he can do. And his wife, his wife is with Austin Butler.
That's such a strange plot line. His wife is very distant, and it becomes clear throughout the film that she has been sexually abused as a child, and she's going to this guy's seminars. This is Austin Butler. He talks about being present and freeing your mind and freeing your body. And that's a very interesting thing to unpack. Again, it's a very real thing. And at one point, she just leaves, and that's that. We only really get to look back in on her at the end. And I think it's a very strange choice not to dig into that a little bit deeper. We do get a scene where, again, selfishly, the sheriff tells everyone that she was sexually assaulted, and he gives this wildly wrong information about stuff. And it's just crazy the lengths that he will go to for his own mayoral campaign, a campaign that nobody believed in. They were knocking down his signs, and he got only like 6 people at his big speech. And yet he still managed to be mayor by the end just because he murdered Pedro Pascal, which is crazy. Again, they let people get away with things in this movie that is incredibly real. A felon. He's essentially a felon. He's become the mayor of this town. What does that remind you of, eh? I just think...
An orange, I guess.
Yeah, something orange. Just what a strange film. You start it out as this political commentary that could almost be seen as uplifting and believing in the right-wing characters, and then it becomes something more like a thriller. And at the end, it becomes a murder mystery where someone's trying to cover up their own, the murders they've done, which then climaxes in a shootout. Bizarre, like train of events.
Yeah, we just left out the cinema like, so, Eddington, the film.
Yeah.
This is the 6th year that we're entering for the podcast. And we're just straight out the gates with this.
We're doing a brilliant gamble to get the least views possible. We've done Ballerina, Peacemaker, Life of Chuck, all videos that have flopped. Eddington, come on, another one.
Oh, come on.
Don't worry, next week is the big gamble to bring people back. Come back, I promise. We'll do relevant things
That's
again.
going to be such a whiplash too.
Yeah, genuinely. Okay, so what are you going to give Eddington out of 10?
I think 7.
Yeah, okay, no, I was thinking the exact same. I think 7. I think it's incredibly difficult because it does have a lot to say. It does have a lot of really interesting elements, but it's a bit weird.
To describe this film, it feels like a whiplash. That's what I can say.
Yes, it does indeed. Thank you everybody for listening. If you're listening on YouTube and you liked it, you can like and subscribe if you want to see more. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple, you can follow and give us a 5-star review if you think we're worthy. And next week, back to the regularly scheduled programming of stuff stuff that people are actually talking about. We're doing K-pop Demon Hunters.
Woo!
And send an email as well. Tell us your thoughts on K-pop Demon Hunters, and we'll answer it next week on the podcast.
We might sing along to
Oh,
K-pop Demon
yes.
Slayer.
Apparently, wait, what do you say? K-pop Demon Slayer. That's a whole different.
Sorry, that's
you've
a
merged
different.
two
Sorry,
franchises
not
now.
K-pop, not Demon Slayer.
See you next week for K-pop Demon Slayers.
But anyway, yes, you can follow us on Instagram at Out of Time Film Pod to see our incredible thumbnails from Zain Afzal, on Twitter for more thoughts from Tom and me, and TikTok to see edited clips, which is all also on Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts, and you can find links there or in the description below. Thanks to LJ's Bear for the excellent theme and Ronan Phillips for the podcast as always, and I think that's everything. Take it, give
Get nothing back.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.